First contact. The hum of the Horizon's engines had become so familiar to Commander Elena Reyes that she hardly noticed it anymore. 6 months into their deep space exploration mission, the white noise had become a lullaby, a constant companion in the vast emptiness. Elena stood before the bridge's panoramic viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling blue-green planet that dominated their view. Spectral analysis confirms oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, Science Officer Park announced from his station. Gravity approximately 1.2 Earth standard. Temperature ranges within human tolerance. Elena nodded, tucking a strand of her short black hair behind her ear. And the energy signatures? Definitely artificial. Communications specialist Aisha Mbeki replied. Regular patterns consistent with a technologically advanced civilization. Not random natural phenomena. The bridge fell silent as the implications settled over the crew. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found what they had been looking for, intelligent alien life. Well then, Elena said, straightening her uniform. I guess we have first contact protocols to initiate. The decision to send a small landing party, rather than waiting for the aliens to notice them, had been controversial. Captain Harris had argued for caution, but Elena had convinced him that making the first move would demonstrate confidence. As the ship's diplomatic officer and xenolinguist, Elena would lead the team to the surface. Their shuttle descended through wispy clouds toward a sprawling city on the edge of an emerald ocean. Structures unlike anything on Earth rose in spiraling towers that seemed to defy gravity, connected by translucent bridges that sparkled in the alien sunlight. Those materials, Engineer Rodriguez whispered beside her. I've never seen anything like them. The shuttle's sensors detected a clearing that appeared to be some kind of landing pad. As they touched down, Elena felt her heart hammering against her ribs. Everything she had trained for throughout her career came down to this moment. Remember, she told her team of 5, we're guests here. We follow their lead. The shuttle's door slid open, and Elena stepped onto the surface of an alien world. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and sea salt, and the gravity pulled at her limbs with subtle insistence. For a moment, there was only silence. Then they appeared. The aliens emerged from a nearby structure, moving with fluid grace on 4 lower limbs, while 2 upper limbs were held in what Elena interpreted as a peaceful gesture. Their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with movement, and their faces featured 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle above what appeared to be breathing slits. Greetings, Elena said, activating the universal translator device on her wrist, though she knew it would take time to build a language database. She extended her hands, palms up, in what she hoped was a universal sign of peace. The aliens stopped several meters away, their scales shifting to a deep purple. One stepped forward, clearly a leader, its voice producing a series of melodic clicks and whistles. Over the next 3 weeks, Elena and her team worked tirelessly to establish communication with the beings who called themselves the Vasheri. The translator slowly built a functional lexicon, and cultural exchange began in earnest. The Vasheri were cautious but curious, ancient but innovative. Yet problems arose almost immediately. Captain Harris, growing impatient with the diplomatic pace, pushed Elena to secure mining rights for rare minerals detected on the planet's moons. The Vasheri, Elena discovered, held those moons sacred, burial grounds for their ancestors. You don't understand, Harris argued during a private communication. The Council wants results, Commander. Those minerals could revolutionize our propulsion systems, and rushing this could destroy any chance of a meaningful alliance, Elena countered. The Vasheri have technology we've never dreamed of, Captain. Their medical advances alone are useless if we can't bring them home, Harris interrupted. The Council's patience isn't infinite. The situation deteriorated when a sampling team was sent to the smallest moon without Vasheri permission. Elena was summoned before the Vasheri High Council, their scales now a threatening crimson. Your kind speaks of respect, while taking what is not offered. The High Elders' translated words echoed in the chamber. Perhaps humans are not so different from the swarm after all. Elena frowned. The swarm. I don't understand. The elder gestured to an aide who activated a holographic display. It showed creatures that resembled massive insectoid ships moving through space, consuming everything in their path. They come from the dark between galaxies, the elder explained. They have destroyed 12 civilizations known to us. Our long-range sensors detect their approach to this sector within 5 rotations. Elena felt cold dread wash over her. And you believe we're like them? We have watched many species rise and fall, Commander. Those who take without asking rarely survive long. That night, Elena made a decision that would change the course of 2 civilizations. Without authorization, she transmitted all their data on the approaching swarm back to Earth, then returned to the High Council with a proposal. My superiors were wrong to take without permission, she admitted before the council. I cannot undo their actions, but I can offer this. We will defend your moons alongside you against this swarm. Humans may be young and sometimes foolish, but we are fierce when protecting those we consider friends. And why would we trust humans to be our defenders? Asked a younger council member. Elena smiled slightly. Because while you've been watching us, I've been watching you. Your weapons technology is defensive, designed to repel but not to destroy. Humans, we've perfected destruction, unfortunately. Against something like the swarm, you might need our particular skills. The council chambers erupted in debate, scales shifting through a rainbow of colors. Finally, the High Elder raised all 4 of their upper limbs for silence. We will consider your words, Commander Elena Reyes of Earth, the Elder said. But know this, betrayal will not be tolerated twice. As Elena left the chamber, her communicator vibrated with an incoming message from Captain Harris. Return to the horizon immediately. That's an order, Commander. Elena switched off the device and looked up at the alien sky, where somewhere beyond the clouds, both danger and opportunity awaited. Her path forward was clear. She would become the bridge between worlds, or she would fall trying. The Alliance. The next morning, Elena stood before Captain Harris on the Horizon's bridge, her stance military straight, despite the exhaustion etched into her features. You directly violated my orders, Commander, Harris said, voice dangerously quiet. I should have you confined and court-martialed when we return to Earth. With respect, sir, we may not be returning to Earth if we don't act now, Elena replied, nodding to Science Officer Park, who displayed the swarm data on the main screen. This threat is beyond anything we've encountered. Harris studied the projections, his anger momentarily overshadowed by concern. Even if this is accurate, what do you expect us to do? The Horizon is an exploration vessel, not a warship. We combine forces, Elena said simply. The Vasheri have defensive capabilities we've never seen, but they lack offensive power. We have weapons systems that could be adapted. After hours of debate, Harris reluctantly agreed to Elena's plan. A joint task force was established, with the Horizon's engineers working alongside Vasheri technologists to prepare for the coming threat. The Vasheri Elder Talavir became Belena's counterpart, a reluctant alliance born of necessity. Talavir's scales remained a skeptical blue-gray during their initial planning sessions. Your weapons will damage the sacred harmonics of our moons, Talavir argued during one particularly heated exchange. Belena shook her head. Not if we calibrate them correctly. Your people understand resonance fields better than anyone I've ever encountered. Together, we can create a defense system that protects your sacred spaces. Over the next 2 weeks, humans and Vasheri worked side by side. The aliens' understanding of gravity manipulation allowed the Horizon's basic shield technology to be amplified tenfold. In return, human engineers helped the Vasheri adapt their defensive barriers into focused energy weapons. It's beautiful, in a way, Engineer Rodriguez commented as they tested a prototype. Their technology is like music, all about harmony and balance. Ours is like fire, raw and direct. Elena watched as Talavir's scales shifted to a thoughtful green. Perhaps there is wisdom in your species after all, Commander Reyes. We have our moments, Elena replied with a smile. The swarm arrived 3 days earlier than predicted. Elena was awakened by blaring alarms as the ship's sensors detected the first wave of insectoid vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They're not responding to any communication attempts, Aisha reported from her station as Elena rushed onto the bridge. And they're moving faster than we anticipated. The combined human Vasheri fleet took up defensive positions around the planet and its sacred moons. 23 Vasheri ships with their elegant spiraling designs alongside the horizon, and 3 hastily armed Vasheri cargo vessels retrofitted with human weapon systems. Remember the plan. Elena's voice was steady over the comm channel. Vasheri ships maintain the harmonic shields. Our weapons will create the openings you need to deploy the resonance disruptors. The first wave hit like a tsunami. The swarm ships, organic-looking and eerily silent, absorbed conventional weapons fire as if it were nothing more than a mild irritation. But when the modified Vasheri resonance fields engage, the creature's exoskeletons began to vibrate and crack. It's working, Park shouted over the cacophony of battle. Their molecular structure is destabilizing. But the victory was short-lived. The second wave adapted, their hulls shifting to a different frequency that the resonators couldn't match. 3 Vasheri ships were lost in quick succession, their elegant forms crumpling under the swarm's assault. We need to change tactics, Elena said, turning to Taliver who had joined them on the Horizon's bridge. What if we reverse the polarity of your harmonic shields? Instead of pushing outward, pull their frequency inward. Taliver's scales flashed rapid calculations in mathematical patterns. It could create a feedback loop within their systems. But our ships would need to get dangerously close. The Horizon will lead. Captain Harris interrupted, surprising everyone. We'll create the opening your ships need. What followed was a dance of death and desperation. The Horizon plunged into the heart of the swarm formation, weapons blazing to clear a path. Vasheri ships followed in its wake, their harmonic projectors reconfigured to Elena's specifications. When the modified resonance wave activated, it spread through the swarm like wildfire. Ship after ship began to convulse, their organic hulls vibrating at frequencies that tore them apart from within. The few that attempted to retreat were caught in the Vasheri's traditional defensive fields, held in place until the resonance could finish its work. 3 hours after it began, the battle was over. The Horizon limped back to orbit, its hull scorched and breached in multiple sections. Half the Vasheri fleet was destroyed or damaged beyond repair. But the planet below remained safe, its sacred moons untouched by the conflict. In the aftermath, as humans and Vasheri tended to their wounded and mourned their dead, Elena found herself standing again before the High Council, this time with Captain Harris at her side. Your people fought with honor, the High Elder acknowledged, scales a respectful gold. And your strategy saved many lives. We both contributed what we do best, Elena replied. Alone, neither of us would have survived. The formal alliance that followed would transform both civilizations. The Vasheri's medical technology healed injuries that would have been fatal to the Horizon's crew. Human adaptive thinking helped the Vasheri develop early warning systems against future swarm incursions. 6 months later, as Elena prepared to board the newly constructed embassy ship, the first joint human-Vasheri vessel, Captain Harris approached her on the boarding platform. The Council is taking a risk, appointing you as humanity's official ambassador, he said, though his tone carried a note of pride. You're not exactly known for following rules. Elena smiled as she looked at the ship, its design a perfect blend of human pragmatism and Vasheri elegance. Sometimes the rules need to be broken before they can be rewritten, Captain. As the embassy ship departed, carrying representatives of both species toward Earth, Elena stood at the viewport watching the Vasheri homeworld shrink behind them. Taliver joined her, scales shifting to a peaceful azure. Your people have a saying, the elder noted. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I believe I understand it now. Elena nodded. And your people teach that harmony comes from embracing differences, not erasing them. Together, they watched the stars stretch before them, no longer representing the vast emptiness that separated their worlds, but the endless possibilities that awaited them as allies. In the end, it wasn't superior firepower or advanced technology that had saved them both, but the uniquely human willingness to leap into the unknown, combined with the ancient Vashuri wisdom of finding balance in all things. Two species, fundamentally different yet remarkably complementary, now faced the universe together. The ambassador had found her true mission.